I thought I was focused until I started tracking all the times I found myself getting distracted. And now that I see it, I really can't unsee it. Because originally I thought that sometimes I would just get the odd bit of distraction and that was fine and that was natural and there wasn't really much to worry about. However, over time, I realized that that led into a few things. So, for example, it might be I'd start working on my laptop on something, and then all of a sudden I'd then go and check out that YouTube video. Or, I might sort of go and do this, and then maybe in the morning, I might just, sneak in whatever video or piece of content that I wanted to watch or listen to. And this at first didn't seem that harmful until I really realized what it was actually doing to me. Where these small interruptions, these small sort of, effectively things in the way caused a few problems. One of which was procrastination, where I realized sometimes I would simply be consuming content or trying to simply just distract myself from what it was that I actually needed to do. And I didn't actually need to do anything before that said thing, it was just an excuse to procrastinate. The second thing is that I kept breaking out of that, I suppose, flow state or deep work zone that I was in, where when I was actually working on something, the moment it got difficult, instead of actually riding that wave and continuing to work on that stuff, I then decided, okay, well, actually, I just want to go and check this thing. And it's like, it's almost as if like the moment I was at that moment where I could actually smooth myself into that deep work state or flow state, I would distract myself. I would feel a bit bored and then I'd go and do something else. And then the moment that I would finish that video or whatever it was and I'd come back, then I then had to try and get myself back into that state. And at that point, things become a lot more difficult. And the one thing that really changed and really made a really big turning point for me was having awareness of it, right? Just having simply awareness of what I was doing, the action I was actually taking. And that's really key because I don't think you can improve on anything if you don't actually have awareness of something being a problem to begin with. So when I was noticing, the sort of constant, or perhaps the more consistent interruptions that were coming on, perhaps within my deep work, or perhaps when I was, going to do work, but then maybe I was procrastinating a bit before, it was noticing that and going, okay, that's not okay. Right, I can't keep doing this because this is causing X, Y, and Z problem. And even if it is, wasting me 30 minutes, perhaps even an hour a day, that's still 30 minutes to an hour a day where I could have worked on things meaningful to me, right? And that's really, really key because it's only when I got the awareness, when I realized that actually the way I'm approaching my day to day life isn't actually as aligned as I want it to be. Because ideally speaking, I want to be able to turn up to the day and actually work on the things that are meaningful to me, build stuff, build meaningful projects, create content, design video games, whatever's meaningful to you. You obviously name it. But that was really key. So I want you to ask yourself some questions. I really want to ask yourself in terms of what is actually, like perhaps where in your life do you actually feel perhaps you are procrastinating, right? Sometimes this can even go for things like morning routines, right? I don't have a morning routine. I wake up, I sit down and I work pretty much, right? That's pretty much about it. I just work, ideally speaking, immediately. If I'm going to the gym, sometimes I might go immediately in the morning. Typically speaking, it's like sort of afternoon time. But generally speaking, I get up and I work. That's it, right? There's no need for any sort of special morning routine. I feel like a lot of it is just procrastination. And for me, I know how much I can procrastinate, which is exactly why I much prefer wake up, sit down, get through perhaps the more difficult and energy sort of burning stuff, which maybe is creating content like this, so that later in the day, I've got the heavier stuff out the way and I can focus on doing lighter things. But ask yourself those questions and really consider where you are perhaps either distracting yourself or even just holding yourself in that procrastination state. Because unless you bring awareness to the area that you might be procrastinating in or sort of getting distracted in, you're never going to be able to make that change and you're never going to be able to start working on the things that are important to you.